Colorado is a land of massive extremes and hidden layers. Most people look at the snow-capped Rockies and see a playground for skiers and hikers. But beneath that postcard-perfect surface lies a history built on bizarre secrets, strange anomalies, and high-stakes military bunkers. We aren't just talking about mountains and fresh air today. We are uncovering 35 incredible mysteries that define the Centennial State. Fact 1. The Miracle of Mike, Fruita. In 1945, farmer Lloyd Olson attempted to prepare a rooster named Mike for dinner. He missed the jugular, leaving the brainstem intact. Mike didn't die. He lived for 18 months without a head, becoming a national celebrity featured in Life magazine. He was fed with an eyedropper and toured the country as a biological wonder. Scientists found that the brain stem controlled enough vitals to keep him thriving. Today, the town of Fruita celebrates Mike with an annual festival and a metal statue. It remains the ultimate Colorado story of survival against all possible odds. Fact 2. The Cheyenne Mountain Bunker. Carved 2,000 feet into solid granite, the Cheyenne Mountain Complex was built to survive a 30-megaton nuclear blast. The entire facility sits on over 1,000 massive steel springs to absorb the shock of a nuclear explosion. It serves as the high-tech nerve center for NORAD, watching the skies for threats. The entrance is guarded by two 25-ton blast doors that can seal in seconds. It is a literal city inside a mountain, designed to keep the government running even if the world outside faces an apocalypse. It remains one of the most secure places on Earth. Fact 3. The Stanley Hotel's haunting. In Estes Park, this grand hotel inspired Stephen King's The Shining. King stayed in room 217 when the hotel was nearly empty for the winter, and a single nightmare birthed his famous novel. However, the hotel's paranormal reputation predates the book. Guests frequently report the ghost of the original owner's wife playing the piano in the ballroom late at night. Others hear the laughter of invisible children in the fourth-floor hallways. Whether it's the thin mountain air or something spiritual, the Stanley remains a premier destination for ghost hunters and fans of the macabre worldwide. Fact 4. The world's first cheeseburger. The cheeseburger's legal origin is rooted firmly in Denver. In 1935, Louis Ballast of the Humpty Dumpty Drive-In was awarded the first ever trademark for the cheeseburger. While several diners across the Midwest claim to have invented the snack, Ballast was the only one who saw the commercial potential and filed the legal paperwork. Although the original drive-in is long gone, a small stone monument sits on the site today. It serves as a reminder to every traveler passing through the mile-high city that this global culinary staple was officially born in a humble Colorado kitchen. Fact 5. The Great Sand Dunes Anomaly. In the shadow of snow-capped peaks sit the tallest sand dunes in North America, reaching heights of 750 feet. They aren't in a desert. They were formed by thousands of years of wind-pushing river sediment against the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It is a geographical glitch where you can sand sled in the morning and hike through an alpine forest by lunch. The secret to their survival is an underground water system that keeps the base of the dunes moist, preventing them from blowing away. It is a piece of the Sahara tucked into a Colorado valley. Fact 6. Denver Airport DIA Conspiracies. DIA is the world's most mysterious airport, fueled by endless conspiracy theories. Since its 1995 opening, rumors have suggested it serves as an Illuminati headquarters with a massive underground bunker for the global elite. The airport features dark, apocalyptic murals and Blucifer, a giant blue horse statue that actually killed its creator during construction. The runways are even laid out in a shape that some claim resembles a swastika from the air. The airport staff eventually embraced the weirdness, putting up signs that joke about lizard people and secret tunnels to keep the mystery alive for travelers. Fact 7. The world's deepest hot springs. Pagosa Springs holds the Guinness World Record for the deepest geothermal hot spring on Earth. In 2011, a plumb line was dropped into the Great Pagosa Spring, reaching 1,002 feet, before running out of line without hitting the bottom. The Ute Indians considered these waters sacred and healing for centuries. Today, the town uses this volcanic heat as a renewable energy source to warm downtown sidewalks and buildings during the freezing winter months. It is a natural wonder that reminds us of the massive hidden power lurking just beneath the surface of the quiet Colorado mountain crust. Fact 8. The snowball ban. For decades, it was technically illegal to throw a snowball in the luxury ski town of Aspen. An ancient city ordinance classified snowballs as deadly missiles, putting them in the same category as stones and bullets. This meant a simple childhood game could result in a police fine. The law stood until 2019, when an 11-year-old boy named Dane Best successfully lobbied the city council to change the rule. He argued that kids should be allowed to have fun in the snow. The board agreed, proving that even the most prestigious towns can eventually find common sense. Fact 9. The Eisenhower Tunnel. At an elevation of over 11,000 feet, the Eisenhower Tunnel is the highest point on the entire U.S. interstate system. It is a 1.7-mile shortcut through the Continental Divide that changed the history of Western travel. Building it was an engineering nightmare. The pressure of the mountain was so great that it actually crushed the initial steel support beams. Because the air is 25% thinner inside than at sea level, car engines often struggle, and drivers can experience sudden lightheadedness. It is a marvel of human grit that allows thousands of people to cross the Rockies every day. Fact 10. The Frozen Dead Guy. In the mountain town of Nederland, a man named Bredo Morstol has been kept frozen in a tough shed packed with dry ice since 1989. His family hoped that future technology would eventually allow for his resuscitation. Instead of being horrified, the town created Frozen Dead Guy Days, a festival featuring coffin races and polar plunges. A local iceman is still paid to deliver nearly 2,000 pounds of dry ice every month to keep Grandpa Bredo at a steady negative 60 degrees. It is a story of family devotion and the uniquely eccentric spirit of Colorado. Fact 11. The Royal Gorge Bridge. Suspended 955 feet above the Arkansas River, the Royal Gorge Bridge was the highest bridge in the world for 75 years. Interestingly, it was never built as part of a highway. It was created in 1929 purely as a tourist attraction. The floor is made of 1,200 wooden planks that groan and creak as you drive across, offering a terrifying view of the river below. It miraculously survived a massive wildfire in 2013 that destroyed almost every other structure in the park. It remains a testament to early 20th century engineering and offers one of the state's most vertigo-inducing views. Fact 12. St. Elmo Ghost Town. St. Elmo is one of the best preserved ghost towns in the American West. When the silver market crashed in 1893, the residents simply walked away, leaving their furniture and belongings behind. Because the high-altitude mountain air is so dry, the wood hasn't rotted and the buildings haven't decayed. Today, you can walk through the silent streets and peer into windows to see merchandise still sitting on the shelves of the general store. It is a haunting time capsule that perfectly captures the boom and bust cycle that defined the early days of the Colorado mining industry. We've covered the ghosts and the gold, but what if I told you that one of the most famous landmarks in the state is actually hiding a secret underground city? As we move into our next 10 secrets, things are about to get a lot more mysterious. From the cursed tunnels of the Rockies to the world's most unlikely farm, you haven't seen anything yet. Fact 13. The Golden Dome. The Colorado State Capitol Dome in Denver is covered in real 24-karat gold leaf. This shimmering landmark honors the 1859 gold rush that originally brought thousands of settlers to the region. Because the intense Colorado sun and hailstorms caused the gold to flake off, the dome must be re-gilded every few decades. During the last renovation, master craftsmen used 65 ounces of gold, pounded into sheets so thin they would disintegrate if touched by a finger. It serves as a literal crown for the city, keeping the memory of the early prospectors alive for every modern resident. Fact 14. The highest paved road. The road to the summit of Mount Blue Sky reaches a staggering 14,265 feet, making it the highest paved road in North America. It is a white-knuckle drive with no guardrails and switchbacks that lead directly into the clouds. At the summit, the air is so thin that visitors often feel dizzy within minutes. However, the mountain is home to mountain goats and bighorn sheep that have become so used to tourists they often pose for photos. The environment at the top is a subalpine tundra, offering a climate similar to Greenland just an hour from Denver. Fact 15. The Colorado Alligator Farm. In the high-altitude San Luis Valley, a farm uses geothermal hot springs to keep over 300 alligators alive. It seems like a biological impossibility in a place where winter temperatures drop below zero, but the water remains a constant 87 degrees year-round. Originally brought in to dispose of waste from a tilapia farm, the gators thrived and began to breed. Today, it is a sanctuary for reptiles, including some over 11 feet long. It is one of the most bizarre sights in the state, proving that with a little volcanic heat, even the desert can host a swamp. Fact 16. Pikes Peak Inspiration. Catherine Lee Bates wrote the poem America the Beautiful after being inspired by the view from the summit of Pikes Peak in 1893. She traveled to the top in a mule-drawn wagon and was so moved by the purple mountain majesties that she scribbled the words on the back of an envelope. The purple hue she described was a literal observation of how the sun hits the granite at that high altitude. Her struggle to reach the 14,115-foot peak resulted in the most patriotic song in American history, born from the raw and rugged beauty of the Colorado landscape. Fact 17. Bishop Castle. In the wet mountains of southern Colorado stands a massive stone fortress built entirely by one man. Jim Bishop spent over 60 years hauling every stone by hand to create a castle with iron dragon heads, stained glass, and towers reaching 160 feet. He had no blueprints or formal training, making it a monument to individual obsession and the pioneer spirit. Visitors can explore the castle for free, climbing narrow iron stairs that sway in the wind. It is a masterpiece of outsider art that continues to grow stone by stone, standing as a secret fortress in the middle of the wilderness. Fact 18. The Four Corners Mystery. It is the only place in the United States where you can stand in 4 states at once: Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. But for decades, a persistent secret suggested the monument was a total lie. Legend had it that the original 19th century surveyors, working with primitive tools in the desert heat, missed the mark by nearly 2 miles. This sparked a massive legal debate until the Supreme Court stepped in. They ruled that because the original markers had been accepted for over a century, those markers became the legal boundary, regardless of what modern science says. It is a place where human law overruled the precision of GPS. Fact 19. The Dinosaur Diamond. Western Colorado sits on a secret graveyard of giants known as the Dinosaur Diamond. The area around Grand Junction and Fruita contains one of the highest concentrations of Jurassic-era fossils on the planet. But the secret isn't just the bones, it's the bone wars of the late 1800s. Rival paleontologists were so obsessed with outdoing each other that they sent teams into the Colorado dirt to sabotage one another. They would sometimes order their crews to dynamite fossil beds rather than let the other side find them. Despite this destruction, some of the world's most famous skeletons were unearthed right here in the Colorado dirt. Fact 20. The Mile High Steps. Everyone knows Denver is the Mile High City, but locating that exact mile is a moving target. If you walk up the steps of the state capitol, you'll find 3 different markers. The first was on the 13th step, but more accurate measurements moved it to the 15th, and then the 18th step. The secret is that the city of Denver is technically rising and falling. Due to the shift in tectonic plates and the rebound of the Earth's crust from ancient glaciers, the elevation of the city changes slightly every year. Depending on when you visit, you might be standing at a different mile. Fact 21. The 14-ER obsession. Colorado's culture is defined by the 14er. With 58 peaks over 14,000 feet, the state has more high-altitude summits than any other in the lower 48. But the secret to these mountains is the psychological phenomenon known as summit fever. This is where hikers become so obsessed with reaching the top that they ignore life-threatening storm clouds. The weather at 14,000 feet is a different beast. You can start in 80-degree weather and reach the summit in a blizzard. Lightning is a constant threat, and hikers often report their hair standing on end just seconds before a strike occurs. Fact 22. The birthplace of the rodeo. If you ask a Texan where the rodeo started, they'll point to the Pecos. But the secret truth, backed by Guinness World Records, is that it started in Deer Trail, Colorado. In 1869, two rival ranches got into a heated argument about who had the best Rough Riders. They didn't have a stadium. They simply circled their wagons on the open prairie and let the wildest horses loose. The prize for the first ever champion was a simple suit of clothes. This informal bet between neighbors transformed into a multi-million-dollar global sport, proving Colorado was the place where cowboy rules were first written. Fact 23. The unsinkable Molly Brown. Molly Brown is famous because of the Titanic, but her secret life in Denver was a masterclass in grit. Because her husband struck it rich in the silver mines, she was considered new money and shunned by high society. She responded by building a mansion so grand it couldn't be ignored and used her wealth to fight for the rights of miners' families. The secret to her unsinkable nature was her refusal to stay in her place. She even ran for the U.S. Senate 8 years before women were granted the right to vote. Her home remains a monument to Colorado's Gilded Age. Fact 24. The brewing capital. Colorado is the Napa Valley of beer, and the secret is the water. Because the state sits at the peak of the Continental Divide, the water used in breweries is first-use snowmelt filtered through granite. This creates a mineral profile that is incredibly soft and pure. In Golden, the Coors Brewery is the largest single-site brewery on the entire planet. They produce up to 22 million barrels of beer a year, and the facility is so large it has its own internal beer pipeline. It's an industrial marvel that has made Colorado the undisputed king of American craft and commercial brewing. Fact 25. The Grand Mesa Anomaly. On the western edge of the state lies the Grand Mesa. This is the largest flat-top mountain in the world, covering 500 square miles. The secret to its existence is a thick layer of volcanic basalt. Millions of years ago, lava flowed over this region. As the soft earth around it eroded away, the hard volcanic cap remained, creating a massive island in the sky. While the valley below is a desert known for peaches, the top of the mesa is a subalpine forest with over 300 lakes. It's a place where you can travel from a desert to a snowy forest in 20 minutes. Fact 26. The federal land lock. One of the biggest secrets about Colorado's geography is that you don't actually own most of it. Over 35% of the state's land, more than 24 million acres, is owned by the federal government. This federal lock is the secret reason why Colorado still feels so wild. Because so much of the land is protected by the Bureau of Land Management or the Forest Service, it cannot be sold to private developers for housing or malls. It keeps the Old West vistas intact, ensuring that the sprawling, untouched horizons you see today will likely look the same for the next 100 years. Fact 27. The Ghost Town Capital. Colorado has more than 1,500 ghost towns, but the secret is that they aren't all ruins. In places like St. Elmo, the towns are so well preserved you can still see the original wallpaper on the walls. The secret to this preservation is the extreme altitude and the lack of humidity. At 10,000 feet, wood doesn't rot, and the dry air prevents the decay found in lower elevations. In many of these towns, the people didn't leave because they ran out of resources. They left because the silver market crashed in 1893. These towns serve as silent, high-altitude time capsules. Fact 28. The dry air preservation. There is a scientific secret to why Colorado feels like a time machine, the dry air effect. Because the state is landlocked and sits at high elevation, the humidity is often in the single digits. This has a bizarre effect on history. Wooden tools and clothing from the 1800s are often found in abandoned cabins looking fresh and new. In Mesa Verde, Native American cliff dwellings built 1,000 years ago still have the original wooden support beams intact. Colorado is nature's own museum, using a lack of moisture to preserve the past better than any climate-controlled building could. Fact 29. The Pioneer Women. Colorado was a global pioneer in civil rights, and the secret lies in the year 1893. It became the first state in the Union to grant women the right to vote through a popular vote of the people. This wasn't a law passed by politicians in a back room. It was the men of Colorado, the rugged miners and ranchers, who voted to give their wives and daughters the ballot. They recognized that on the harsh frontier, women were equal partners in the daily struggle for survival. Colorado's secret legacy is one of radical equality that started long before the rest of the nation. Fact 30. The true color of Colorado. The name Colorado is Spanish for red-colored. While most assume this refers to the famous red rocks, the secret is that the name actually belongs to the water. When early Spanish explorers reached the Colorado River, it was thick with red silt from the erosion of the canyon walls. To them, it looked like a river of liquid red clay. Though modern dams have caused the silt to settle and the water to turn a clear blue today, the name remains as a permanent reminder of the raw and muddy power of the river that carved the entire American West. Fact 31. The Cave of the Winds. Beneath the surface of Manitou Springs lies a secret world discovered by accident in 1881. Two brothers on a Sunday school outing found a small opening in the rock and discovered the Cave of the Winds. The secret of these caves is the rare folia formations found in only a few places on Earth. These were formed by sulfuric acid rising from the earth and eating away at the limestone. Today, visitors can take lantern tours where all lights are extinguished, revealing a darkness so complete that it challenges your direction and reminds you of the world hidden beneath your feet. Fact 32. The Kit Carson Ghost Train. On the eastern plains, where the horizon stretches for 100 miles, there is a legend of the Kit Carson Ghost Train. For decades, locals have reported the sound of a phantom steam whistle and the glow of a lantern moving across the prairie where no tracks exist. The secret behind the legend is a supply train that allegedly vanished during a blizzard in the 1870s. According to lore, the train and its crew were buried in the snow and are still trying to find their way to the next station. The plains remain one of Colorado's most haunted regions. Fact 33. The Grand River Identity. Here's a secret that most people don't know. Until 1921, the Colorado River didn't officially exist within the state. It was known as the Grand River. A local representative named Edward Taylor fought a bitter battle in Congress to have the name changed. He argued it was a geographical crime for a river named Colorado to start in Utah instead of its namesake state. He won the fight, and the Grand River was officially renamed. The city of Grand Junction keeps its name today as a secret reminder of the identity the river held for over a century of history. Fact 34. The NORAD Santa Tracker. The world's most famous military mission started because of a typo. In 1955, a Sears ad gave a phone number for kids to call Santa, but the number was off by one digit. It rang directly into the red phone at the Nuclear Command Center. Colonel Harry Shoup answered, expecting a report of a strike, but instead heard a child asking for Santa. He made a split-second decision to have his radar operators track Santa's progress. This created a global tradition that continues at Peterson Space Force Base today, proving even the military has a sense of holiday wonder. We've reached the final secret. This is the one that explains why, once you visit this state, you might never be able to leave. This is the legend of the Ute Curse. Fact 35. The Ute Curse. Finally, we reached the secret of the Ute Curse. Ancient legend says the Ute people placed a curse on the Pikes Peak region. They believed the land was so sacred that anyone who visited would be spiritually compelled to return again and again. It is called the sand in the shoes legend. Once you have walked the red soil of Colorado and breathed the thin mountain air, you are bound to the landscape. This is the secret reason why so many move to Colorado for one season and stay for a lifetime. Beauty is a permanent anchor, one state that continues to defy expectations and hide its history in plain sight. From the headless rooster of Fruita to the nuclear-proof springs of Cheyenne Mountain, Colorado is a place where every peak and valley has a story to tell. Thank you for exploring the hidden history of America with US GeoFacts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which of these secrets was the most unbelievable. We'll see you soon. The US is way crazier than you think. Subscribe for more insane state facts, and let's keep traveling together.